Hey, before we get in this episode, can you do us a favor? Will you go ahead and subscribe to the channel?
Will you ring that notification bell?
And if you would, give this video a like. Well, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's get to the episode.
Let's talk developmentally speaking, glow up, and connecting through wrestling.
Hey everybody, I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And on today's episode of Connecting Through Wrestling, we have Alan Kwee Wee Funk. Alan, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, we like to start mostly all of our interviews with the same question. What got you into wrestling?
Watching Hulk Hogan when I was a kid. First time I saw Hulk Hogan on Rocky 3, and then I was like, "Holy crap, man! Who is this dude?" I gotta start following him. I can't remember the year that was, 80 something. But yeah, man, that's basically since I saw that I got hooked.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's for most people, wrestling fans, wrestlers in general. You remember that first match or first person that you saw. For me, it was Big Boss Man. I just remember it might have been a Survivor Series or something. It always comes back to this when I was like 3 years old and my family was at Thanksgiving talking about wrestling, and I just remember seeing Big Boss Man and just with the nightstick, and it was so cool for me. So that's what.
Yeah, Ray's actually a good guy too, man. So that make you feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
How did so how long did it take you when you started training to get to WCW? Did you do the power plant, or how did all that come about?
Yeah, so I'm from Ohio originally. I live in Atlanta now, but there was a guy I met. Actually, my best friend's brother started training with a guy named Kid Collins in Mansfield, Ohio. And Kid Collins was one of the Saturday jobbers, you'd call him, on the old WWF. So he started training with him, and I really didn't have a good. I mean, I liked the guys and everybody down there. I just didn't have a good vibe of getting where I wanted to be in the wrestling business, because I saw what some other guys were going down there paying $3,000 a train, just doing independence for years and never getting anywhere. So my whole idea was, I don't mind doing independence, but I want to get somewhere, man. I want, I need to get stuff rolling. I need to get as fast as I can. And so I actually started training with a guy. He owned a wrestling ring, and he was a volunteer fireman in Robertsville, Ohio, and he had the ring set up in an old schoolhouse that the volunteer fireman or the fire department bought. So I started training there with my buddy, Greg Anderson. He helped me train a little bit. But as soon as I started training, I think we had our first match like a week later. But I always, we always scoot around and stuff at the house, and we used to break into high school and do big high spots on the high jump mats and stuff. So I had a lot of practice, just not official practice.
Right.
So that's how I got started. The first match I had was actually against the Batten Twins. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them. Real good guys back in the day, back in the 80s. They were real good heels down in like Puerto Rico. They wrestled world class, Mid-South, all the good promotions back in the day.
I'm sure Rip knows them for sure. Yeah.
Who's that? Rip Rogers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he I'm sure he knows him.
Yeah. Well, we're actually from Seymour, where Rip's from. So yeah.
Okay, I got you.
We've known Rip for a long time.
That's cool.
Yeah. So speaking of which, we always ask people, do you have any Rip stories?
You know what? I think I met him. I don't have any stories. No, I'm not. I can't say I'm good friends with him,
Right.
Unfortunately.
That's okay. So you get into WCW, and so did you come up with the Kwee Wee idea, or did somebody give it to you? Or?
No. So after I got, I don't know how old you guys are, but I think I'm a little older than you two. But they used to show during the Monday Night Wars, like on WCW, the WCW power plant where the big boys train.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'd always sit around with my girlfriend at the time in Ohio, and I'm like, dude, like, I didn't know what else to do. I said, I got to try this tryout in this WCW, power plant. It was the only thing I really knew how to do. I didn't have any clue how to get, hold of WWF or even try that route. So I figured it's right there in the TV. I paid my $200 and go try out in Atlanta. So I bought my plane ticket and reserved a spot in the tryouts, and went down to Atlanta and tried out in the power plant for my 3-day tryout, which was I don't know if you've ever heard any of the horror stories from the power plant, but it was beyond brutal. Let's put it that way. With Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Sorry, I got to plug my computer in here. It's starting to die. I thought I plugged it in. But yeah, so I went through the power plant 3-day tryout. Out of 30 plus guys, 34, 35 guys, I was the only one that made it through there and got on TV. So that's how I got my start on television.
Wow. Every story we've heard so far, the power plant's been hell.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you this. I know like guys like I mean a lot of guys that you've seen on WWE, but I know one in particular. I actually was talking to Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. He was one of the trainers down there. He was telling me about how they blew Batista out of the water, man. Like he couldn't make it. You know, probably. I would say if he made it a half an hour, he was probably lucky.
Wow. Yeah, we're actually hoping to get Sarge on here. I actually have him on Facebook. I'm going to try to get him on an episode.
Yeah, tell him I did it and it helped you out. I'm going to see him this weekend, so I'll tell him to go ahead and do it.
Thank you.
Awesome. I do appreciate that for sure. Yes. So, just give us some memories from your time at WCW. Like any.
Shoot. Yeah, I mean, from the very first second I stepped in the doors down at the old power plant, and stepping in this power plant, dude, it was a total friggin' shithole. When I pulled up to this place, I went there the night before my trial just to make sure I knew where I was going in the morning, because I didn't want to be late. And I pulled up to this building, and you would have never known this was a power plant. There was no signs, there was no nothing. You know, you're watching TV thinking this is going to be the most extravagant place you ever seen in your life. You know, Ted Turner on is probably freaking gold, freaking, you know, doorknobs and all this stuff. So I pulled up to this warehouse, and it was a crap hole, dude. Rats all over the place, just disgusting. Now, I saw a WCW ring truck. It was like a big box truck, an old piece of crap. So I'm like, I said, it's WCW truck. It's got to be the right place. I had the right address, and this was before MapQuest and nothing. You know, I had an actual map I was looking at.
Yeah.
So young kids nowadays wouldn't know the struggle of that. So, but yeah, so I went there for my trial. And from the second I walked in that door, I saw guys like Pistol Pez Watley. You know, there were Prince IK was there, and a few other guys you'd see on TV, like a lot of the Natural Born Thrillers in there, TV, which I became really good friends with later. But just that experience alone was like walking in the door, you know, being nobody, coming from a small town in Ohio and seeing these guys that you watch on TV and some of the other, you know, there was a few big names in there, you know, and it was crazy to see them, like Rick Rude and, you know, Scott Putski and guys like that. And, you know, you just like, holy crap. So that was a pretty good memory for me, just walking in the door, you know, being a small kid, you know, from a small town and seeing all these guys.
Yeah.
So you graduated from the power plant, and then how did that process work? Was it immediately they just started putting you on TV to wrestle, or?
No, so it was kind of it was relatively fast, but it was still a process. I did my tryout in July, made it through the tryout. I moved down in October, so it was a couple months in there between me doing my tryout, and I had to go back to Ohio and quit my job and, you know, move and figure everything out. So once I got into power plant in October, I started training every day. I think it was 8 to 5 we would train. And even when you're training, dude, I'm talking you're doing 1,500 squats or more a day. You're doing push-ups, sit-ups. You're doing all these drills. You know, your back's all black and blue from the rope, the cables, which in WCW they were cables. They weren't ropes. Just wrapped with like rubber and frickin' tape. And I mean, they were brutal. They'd beat the crap out of you. Just the ring alone would beat you up. You know, taking bumps and then hitting against the cables just tore you up. And so let's see, it was probably, I'm trying to remember, from October till April is when I got my first TV match. But it really wasn't that easy. So right before that, Paul Warndorf came to the power plant. He wasn't there at this point. So he came right in there about that time, and he took over the power plant. So then Jody Hamilton, which was one of the assassins that was running it, him and Sarge was still the head trainer. Jody was still involved, but he wasn't running it. So Paul took over for him. So what we had to do was he come to us and like me, Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, Kid Romeo, Elix Skipper, Mike Sanders, Sean Stasiak, all these guys like that. Sean O'Hare were forced to do a match in front of the WCW offices, which J.J. Dillon, Jimmy Hart, a few other office personnel was there. So Paul told us, if you don't have a good match, you're out the door. You're gone. You either get a contract or you're out the door. So, he lit a fire up under our ass, and we had some good matches, and all the guys that I just mentioned got our contracts. And then they opened up a new power plant, which was in WCW main corporate office, which was a state-of-the-art facility compared to that crap hole we were in. And so everybody that got a contract went to the new power plant, and not that it got any better. The training was still, brutal, but it was at a brand new location. It was nice and fresh, and everybody had a good, good. Everybody was pretty optimistic, thinking, man, this is our next step to getting where we want to go. So everybody was had a pretty good head on their shoulders that we were going to get somewhere.
Awesome.
So
so then Kevin Nash comes in the power plant. Kid Romeo got us a match. So my first TV match was on WCW Saturday Night, which was they filmed these every other Wednesday, or was it Tuesday? It was every other Wednesday. If you wanted to wrestle, they would put you on the show twice sometimes, so you could be on the Saturday Night show 2 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that was the goal. I always wanted to be on twice, so I could be on a TV show every week, just to get my name out there. So
absolutely,
Kevin Nash actually hooked us up with that. So me and Kid Romeo wrestled, brought the first two guys out of the power plant. That from the new guys, from all the like the Natural Born Thrillers and all those guys, they got a match on the TBS show.
Nice. Kid Romeo, I actually think I have him on Facebook as well. We could probably try to get him on here. He's
a good dude. He'd probably do it.
Awesome, fantastic. So, you were talking about how first day you walk in and you see all these people, and that's something that I could relate with you, being in wrestling. I've met so many people that I never thought in a million years that I would meet. Out of all the people you've met, like, what's the one that still you think, man, I can't believe I met that person?
Well, I mean, pretty much everybody that I've, as a kid, watched on TV. I became pretty good friends with Rick Rude at the power plant right when Paul Orndorff took over, because him and Paul were really good friends. And he was one of the coolest dudes, man. Of course, I grew up in the 80s watching him wrestle. Awesome. And, just everything he used to do, man, I loved. And getting to sit around with him and just pick his brain and talk like we were buddies, man, stuff like that's priceless. Especially when you grew up watching these guys. You can't put a price on them, man. And then one day I went to a house show. One of the first house show loops I was on, I was wrestling Kid Romeo again. Because, Kid Romeo always wanted to work with me because I was a great heel and I had a good body. And I made him look good. So he always, of course, he wanted to work with me because we always complimented each other. So we're on the first house show loop we did with Chuck Palumbo, and I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Hardbody Harrison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that name, yeah.
You probably know him better as the Heat Seeker. He's actually in prison right now. So, but Hardbody was wrestling Chuck, and we had some run-ins with like Rick Steiner on that first house loop. He would come in and beat us up and do stuff like that. So, of course, growing up watching the Steiner brothers was great. Being in the ring with him, the first house loop I ever got to do, I got to work with Rick Steiner doing some spots. Then at that same show on a Sunday night in Columbus, Georgia, Hulk Hogan's there. The reason I wanted to get in the wrestling business, watching him the first time I seen him on Rocky III, and he was cool as shit, man. Yeah. Had his son with him, Nick, and Nick was real small at this point. And that was before Hogan Knows Best, I think, even came on TV. But Nick was real small. And Hulk, he took time, said hey to me, and I introduced myself to him. And he was in the hallway, like playing catch with the ball with Nick and stuff. And it was unbelievable meeting him. And he actually signed a shirt. The second annual Survivor Series, which was in Richfield, Ohio, and at the Coliseum before they built the stadiums downtown in Cleveland. I caught his shirt when he ripped it off. So he actually autographed it for me. So I have that autographed shirt, which is which to me is priceless, of course.
That's
but
awesome. Yes.
it was a good thing to have him sign for me, and I got it in a big frame, and still got it to this day. So that was always that's always awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's it's great to hear stories like that because you hear so many wrestlers in the business now talk about wrestlers. Oh, that guy's a mark. Well, we're all marks. It's the reason why we're in this. Is because
of course we are.
Yeah. And I hate when people use it as a derogatory term for other wrestlers because everybody in this business we're in it because we like wrestling.
It's gotten better, I think, hasn't it? 20 years ago it was pretty bad. Oh, you're a friggin' mark, and guys were kind of embarrassed by it, or someone called them that. Now it's nobody gives a crap, man.
Right? Yeah. When I got in the business 13 years ago, one of the first things they told me the first show that somebody that came in with a name was Ricky Morton. And I remember being like, man, I want to get a picture with him. And I remember some of the guys were like, get a pic. Why are you doing that? Because it's Ricky Morton. I mean, what I mean?
With the age of the selfies now, man, nobody cares about taking.
Right.
They'll take a picture with you in a minute. Like those guys love that crap, dude. The Rock's doing it with people and stuff. It ain't. It's. I understand, like being in the business. I was never really good at that. Well, when I first broke in, we didn't have cell phones,
right.
And nobody really carried cameras around with them. If you did, you didn't take very good pictures, or you're afraid to ask somebody for a picture. Mm-hmm. And nowadays it's just the norm.
Yeah. How did Kwee Wee come about? Because you were all over WCW.
Man. It came about with I actually wore my hair like it when I had my hair spiked up.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, my mouth's getting dry.
Understandable.
So me and Mike Sanders was walking through the airport in West Virginia. So Terry Taylor and Vince Russo sitting there, and we deal with them because they were always behind the scenes at the shows and stuff. But we're just young guys trying to get on TV and keep on. Me and Mike Sanders at this point were doing a gimmick called the Double A Team. I don't know if you ever remember seeing that. And we were doing that regularly on Saturday nights and like the WCW Worldwide stuff. Mm-hmm. And they started giving us a little push, and they were going to give us a pretty good push with it. They told us anyway. But when Terry Taylor and Vince Russo saw me and Mike walking the airport, they didn't realize that I actually wore my hair like that all the time. And it started getting longer and longer as the weeks kept going because I kept letting it get longer and longer. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of laughing at me, and they're like, Vince said, you know what, come and see me at Nitro. I want to talk to you about something. So I said, okay. So when I saw him at Nitro, we were talking about something, and he told me to go buy VCR tapes. Obviously, that's how long this has been. Go watch the Mango on Saturday Night Live, which was Chris Kattan doing a character.
I love Mango. That's great.
Yeah, so I went and bought a Saturday Night Live video with Chris Kattan doing the Mango stuff, and he said, I kind of want you to do something like this. It doesn't have to be exact. I just want you to get some ideas from this tape and stuff. So they actually, David Spade was named Kwee Wee on the he was like the Mango's cousin or something on the Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. So they started calling me Kwee Wee. And Saturday Night Live was going to sue him for the name infringement, so they changed it to Kwee Wee, which, what Kwee Wee, Kiwi, what's the difference, Mm-hmm. But so that's how that character came along, and he just said, I want you to be the wardrobe guy. People are going to come to you, and then that's when I started a program with Prince Ikea because he had Paisley with him, mm-hmm. and they wanted me to eventually, and me and Prince they actually let me go over Prince on the first Nitro I ever done. So I went over on Prince the first Nitro. And then that's when Paisley she come down to the wardrobe. She needed something ironed or something. And then she was mesmerized by my good looks, which, what woman wouldn't be? And
exactly.
So, they wanted every woman or whatever, even guys, they wanted guys to look at me and go, man, I don't know what it is about that Kwee Wee, but it's just something about him, And so Paisley fell in love with me. And of course she became my valet. So.
That's great. Yeah, I never realized there was a Mango gimmick. I love that because it makes me think of the Saturday Night Live the skit they did with like Garth Brooks. Mm-hmm. Garth Brooks was in love with Mango, and just the fact that that brings so much to light about the Kwee Wee gimmick.
Actually, if I recall, I think The Rock actually did a scene with the Mango one time.
I think he did. He got his right.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
But it was just supposed to be a spin-off of that, and that's kind of how it got started. I doubt I ever really did anything like the Mango, to be honest with you. But that's kind of what his ideas
Well,
were.
whose idea was it to do the tango dancing down to the ring?
That was kind of like my idea with Paisley. We kind of come up with
That
that.
was so good. That
Yeah.
well, I
You know, I mean that gimmick had to be a little over the top, man. So we had to do stuff like that, you know. And when they give me that gimmick, which was crap, the part of being crap I'm going to tell you is they told me if you get any gay chance, anything gay or fag or any of that, any signs with any of that stuff on it, you're off TV. And I'm like, well, I mean, you're giving me kind of a character eccentric, and it's, you know, people. I mean, you know, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to do the best with what I can, and I think that's why they give me a woman. I always had a woman before Paisley. I had a couple other. Well, I actually had a stripper that Mark Madden brought to one of the shows from Pittsburgh for my valet one week, and then I had Kathy Dingman, which was BB in WWF prior to that. But I'm glad I ended up with Paisley. We were a good fit, and she was excited about doing, and she was a great voice for the Kwee Wee to do you know, pre-tapes and stuff like that with.
for sure. It blows my mind that they would give you this flamboyant character, and you know, nowadays it makes sense. You know, that type of chant is uncalled for. But you know,
Yeah.
wrestling hasn't always been politically correct.
No, in '98. I mean, you'd hear that stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little nervous. I'm like, man, if I get any, and I actually saw a couple signs with stuff like that written on it, like, you know, Kwee Wee's gay or something, and
Right.
and luckily there wasn't a lot of those, and it never got me taken off TV, but still they wouldn't let me do a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do with the character. I wish I had more control over it, but you know, I was trying to work with what they give me, and I did the best I could with what I could do, you know.
You did an amazing job, and
For sure, yeah.
people still talk about
He
it.
told me
today.
the other day, he goes, "Hey, I have an interview lined up with Kwee Wee." I go, "What? This is awesome!" Like, you know, because I mean, I was what, probably 8 or 9, probably, but I still remember that gimmick just because it was flamboyant and out there. It was a gimmick. It wasn't just a person with a name and a different finisher than the other wrestler. It was
Yeah, and that's kind of how I grew up with all the, you know, I grew
Yeah.
up with, you know, Terry Funk was a character in WWF with the Cattle Prod, you know, Adrian Adonis, you know, the model Rick Martel, man, that had that spray can and stuff. I mean, all them characters, man, like, you remember crap like that.
Oh, yeah.
the spray can. What's
It's
it called?
fun,
Arrogance.
and when you go to the
Yeah.
show, you can interact with stuff like that, and you can be creative, and, you know, the glitter and stuff's over the top, and, you know, I actually like the character. I just wish I could have had a little bit more free reign to do, because I was a good worker. I wasn't
Yeah.
a crappy worker,
Right.
and which is kind of frustrating when you know you can work good and get over, and you're kind of, you know, you got restraints on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I know it's frustrating, you know, to see. I'm not going to name names, but in my years, you know, I've been a wrestling manager because I'm good at being a jerk.
Yeah.
And I could wrestle matches, but I'm not a good bumper. I never have been. That's why
Yeah.
I chose to be a manager. And then I see people who they have no character, they're just boring, and yet there they are with the belt and all this. And you know, me as a manager, I've never been at the top of and I've always wanted that because I think that I could do that. So I can understand where it'd be frustrating with someone that's a good worker. Like, yeah, and the fact that, like I said, when he told me we're interviewing Kwee Wee, I popped because you were a good worker. I remembered you. You know, there's so many people in WCW he could name off that I'd be like, who? I remember Kwee Wee. I remembered that gimmick because you did it so well. But I have to agree that it has to be frustrating to be this character and be this great worker and know what you're doing, and then see somebody who couldn't lace your boots go past you and do something
Man, I
else.
mean, you know what? That's just the business. You got to take the good with the bad. You know, unfortunately, some of these guys, you know, they got family in the business or something. You know, I started from the rock bottom, man. You know, I'm from a small town, Ohio. I didn't know anybody in the wrestling business. To get to where I was in the wrestling business is, you know, for me, it was a it was a lifetime achievement, man. It's
Absolutely.
what I set out to do and what I
It is.
did. You know, depends on how you define success. And for me, I was successful in what I attempted to do.
For
Very
sure.
much so.
For sure.
What are you doing these days? You're always. I see you all over social media. You're always busy.
You know, I don't do too much. I'm going up to Nashville this weekend, actually. So they got that StarCast Ric Flair's last match and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go out up there and hang out with Sarge and Crowbar and a couple other guys that I hadn't seen in a while. And but for a regular job, I drive a semi truck. I haul oversized heavy haul. I haul for a construction company. I haul big excavators and dozers to job sites.
Well, that's cool.
So you know, you got to do something. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't make millions of dollars in the rest of the business where I can just quit working.
I mean, that's very common. Most wrestlers have to have a shoot job. That's
But you know, it's funny. I actually did see, and you know, I'll go along with this. I'll work anybody. I looked somebody. Me and Mike Sanders were talking about it. We Googled our names and stuff, and because he's like, dude, you got to look. He goes, you're worth like $4 million. I said, well, son of a bitch, I wish the bank could give it to me. So,
That's funny. That's funny.
but yeah, man. So you know, like I said, monetarily, of course, did I want to make millions? Yeah, of course I did. But as far as I define, you know, everybody defines success a little different. You know, most people do it with money. I do it with, you know, what you set out to do and were you successful in doing it, and I was. So you know, no one can take that away from me.
Do you still do conventions or?
I do. I actually, Mike Sanders, Nick Patrick, which was a referee, actually Jody Hamilton's son.
Yeah.
Him, Mark Jindrak, and who else? Am I missing somebody? We just did autograph sign not too long ago up in New York. And I tried to get booked on these shows, but sometimes I don't want to say lazy. I try to contact guys, but it's like, and it's the same thing with the resin business. I'm like, how do some of these guys continue to get booked on these freaking shows and I can't get booked? Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, when I go to these shows, people are like, oh man, you ought to get in AEW. You need to call Chris Jericho. I'm like, I wish it was that easy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, yeah, you know what? You're right. Let me just call him Chris. I'm sure Tony Khan will give me $1 million contract next week. It's pretty easy, you know? But it is frustrating still this day where, I mean, I'll get booked on indie shows and stuff here from time to time and get paid, you know, pretty decent money to do it on the weekends. But I would love to get booked on all these, you know, these like Comic Cons and all this and that stuff. But it's hard to get booked on these shows.
Well, I'll tell you
So
what, if we're ever down that way for a con, you could be at our booth.
Shoot, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah,
We're starting to make
split the money- I'll
appearances
split
all
the
over
money
the
with
place.
you.
So
Yeah, awesome. Because we do. We've done 2 right now, but we have 3 or 4 lined up still. We've done the Squared Circle Expo in Indy. We brought Rip Rogers and Scott Romer with us, and then we had
That's
the
cool.
one Heroes and Legends in Sevierville. We had Les Thatcher with us there.
Oh, you were in Sevierville? That ain't too far. I live in Atlanta. That's not too far from me.
okay.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, Atlanta's only about a 7-hour drive from us. So they have to have cons in Atlanta.
Where are you guys at?
We're Seymour, Indiana.
We're right above Louisville.
Oh, India. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, it's not too
anytime.
far. I mean, it's a good little drive, but
Yeah, we'll definitely look down there and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, if we see any conventions that we can get in, we'll definitely line up with you and do something for sure.
awesome. Yeah, when you guys you said you were 8 years old when you used to watch me on TV?
I'm 34.
I'm 33.
Yeah.
Okay, so, man, because we worked down in Louisville with John Cena and Batista and Randy Orton and Rico,
OVW?
Madison Brothers.
OVW, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That's our other podcast, Developmentally Speaking. We heavily cover OVW because that's our bread and butter. We grew up watching that.
Well, Al Snow owns that now. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we actually.
And
are
you know
working-
what? I never met Al Snow either. And I always wanted to meet Al Snow. Never got a chance to meet him yet.
Well, we're actually working on having a conversation with him here pretty soon in the future as well.
Well, you tell him Alan Funk said hi. Whether he knows me or not, I don't know, but hopefully he does. And
Yes, sir.
tell him I said hey.
We want to thank you again for coming on and conversing with us, telling us some awesome stories. Is there anything that you'd like to finish up?
Actually, you know what? I want to show you guys. I don't know if you guys heard about this. It's a anonymous committee started as WCW Power Plant Hall of Fame. And
wow.
so a bunch of guys were nominated into it. I being one of them. So I'm now official member of the WCW Power Plant Hall of Fame, along with Sarge and a couple others. But this thing don't always work right. So here's my WCW Power Plant Hall of Fame ring.
Oh, wow.
So
That's awesome.
let me. I don't know if you guys can see it very good or not, but on the front of it, it's got the WCW.
That's
And
beautiful.
these rings are amazing, bro. It's got the Kwee Wee on this side,
Yeah.
and it says Hall of Fame 2021 the class, and then on this side it has the logo where the big boys train.
Oh, that's cool.
Congratulations.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
So yeah, we got all these, and we'll have these. Me and Sarge will have these up there in Nashville this weekend. So I told Sarge to bring his ring. We're gonna work the ring gimmick.
Okay. So yeah, anytime we're in the area, we will definitely see what we can do.
Absolutely. Yes. Once again,
Yeah,
thank
man,
you so
I
much.
appreciate it. It'd be
No
good
problem.
hanging out with you guys and meeting you guys. I appreciate you having me on here too.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. In the future, if you want to come back on, just let us know. We'll talk to you some more for sure.
Well, I mean, you got my email now too, so you can email me or whatever.
Fantastic.
Sure.
I don't always check. When I'm driving truck, obviously I'm not gonna check my text messages
Yeah.
or
Right.
DMs or nothing. But yeah, but I check them sporadically throughout the day and stuff. And,
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Have a great one. It was very nice talking to
Hey,
you.
oh, we're done already? What the hell? I'm just messing with you guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, we usually try to keep our episodes around this length. But if you'd like to come on again, we'd be more than happy to have you.
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. You guys have a good night, man. I wish you best of luck in your podcast, man.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Have a
Appreciate
great
it.
one. Hey, everybody. It's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally speaking.